Welcome to the virtual towers of binary Arcadia, where the games go on long into the night. Greetings, BArcadians. You're in for a little bit of a different type of video today, not the usual BA news that we've been putting out there. We thought we'd just finish 2019 off with a bit of a recap and reflection on the year in gaming. So today you're in for a bit of a top 10. And we'll rattle off these categories we've got. We've just come up with them top of our heads. But yeah, more a bit of fun this video than anything else. And you know, a time to be grateful for what we've had this year. So yeah, Rich and I essentially, we don't even know what each other has picked. It's going to be a bit of a surprise for the both of us. But we're just going to work through them together. And you know, we appreciate we're only two lads who play games in their spare time and work full time. So there's massive parts of the gaming landscape missing from our particular rundown. So please do drop us a comment and a like on the video, just to let us know, you know, what your highlights were in 2019.
Absolutely.
We'd love to hear. So Rich, anything from yourself, or do you want to fly on into it?
I think let's fly.
Just having a sip of my tea. Right then, so let's start off with best gaming moment of 2019. Do you want to tell us, Rich? What's yours?
So my favourite gaming moment of 2019 was the final scene of Death Stranding, where, and this is full of spoilers. Spoiler.
Oh my God, just everybody go away now if you want to preserve Death Stranding's sanctity.
So right at the very end of Death Stranding, Sam is tasked with basically incinerating his BB because it's come to the end of his useful life, which he's called Lou, short for Louise. And Deadman sort of gives him this cryptic hint that actually if he uses the incinerator, he might be able to save his BB by taking it out of the pod and leaving with it. And also by burning his cuffs, he can basically get away from Bridges' sort of hold that they have on him.
Surveillance.
And he basically decides to do that, and it's like the perfect emotive moment to finish the game. And I felt it was really fitting for the game, but also it moved me a little bit, and I just thought it was an amazing moment, and that really stuck with me, you know. Sam had
just say it, mate. You cried. Just say it. You can.
I didn't cry, but I thought, you know, that's a really emotive moment. I love that. You know, it's like the moments in Red Dead Redemption where the game makes you feel for the characters, and I feel like that's at a time when the people making the games, they have done their job. They've made you feel something for these made-up people and characters, and I think that was amazing.
It was a beautiful, crystallizing moment of Sam's journey, wasn't it?
Exactly.
An expression of his growth, if you like, over the course of the game. I thought it was lovely.
And that is basically why I've said I don't think they should continue Sam's story. I think they should leave Sam's story there, because I just think the way that ended was just like the perfect ending for me. So that's mine, mate. What about you, Tabs?
So I've got a bit more personal to me, this one, not something that everybody will no doubt feel the same with, but my best gaming moment of 2019 was playing Resident Evil 2 with you, Rich, and two of our other best friends. Almost like in a cooperative fashion.
Yeah.
We were all gathered on the couch. We were all kind of poring over the telly. You know, if you've played Resident Evil games, you know that they're survival horror, very creepy, full of jump scares. And there was just this kind of bonding moment, or many bonding moments, as we played through it together, helping each other manage the inventory, juggle the map, run away from Mr. X.
Or not, as the case may be.
Well, yeah, or get battered by him. Yeah, because we swapped as well. We all took turns to have a go at different sections, and yeah, I mean, it really surprised me. I mean, I thought I'd like the game. I like Resident Evil 2, and the remake was getting great reviews, but I didn't expect to not only love the remake, but in that kind of unique way we were playing it. It was kind of a reach back into some of my most favourite multiplayer games through the ages, things like GoldenEye, Time Splitters, things like this. So yeah, that would be my favourite gaming moment of 2019. moving this train on, Rich, we've got best game of 2019. We probably should have saved this to the end, but never mind. Let's crack on.
So, best game of 2019 for me was Link's Awakening.
Wow.
I just didn't, apart from the technical problems with the game, I don't think there was really anything wrong with it. I loved the experience, I loved the length of it, I loved the skills involved in it. Yeah, I just thought it was brilliant. I loved the style of the graphics. Yeah, it was brilliant. I have to say, Death Stranding was a close second for me on this, but I feel like the start 10 hours of the game just hedged it back in my enjoyment of it, and that's why Link's Awakening beats it for Game of the Year for me.
No, fair enough. Very, very different types, weren't they? That's,
absolutely.
You know, Link's Awakening was just full of pure fun, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And very easy to get into, whereas obviously DS was more of an artistic piece. But no, fantastic. I can't deny you of that one, Rich. Fantastic.
And what about you then, Tabs? Come on.
So, a bit of a different one, this. It's Disco Elysium.
Nice.
Best game of 2019. Now,
wow.
I know, and I'm very aware that there's a lot of flaws in this game. I won't go into them in too much detail, but the story for me kind of went off the rails a bit and was a bit disappointing in the end. And some of the early promise of the game doesn't quite reach its full potential for me. But I think it's more so, I'm a massive fan of point and click adventure games. And even way back when, you know, the kind of text-based games, and even books. I don't know if you ever read one of those adventure books, Rich. It'd be
No,
like,
I don't, but I've heard about them where it's like, you know, turn to page whatever it is to see what happened next or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And those, you know, they were a real feast for the imagination. And I suppose that's what Disco Elysium for me recaptured, and not just recaptured, but it actually did some really cool new things. The writing in it alone was fantastic, and you kind of have this journey of discovery, not only with your character, but also, you know, finding out what you kind of agree with. It was quite political in some of its statements. It kind of asked you to align with different political ideologies. And it was all quite bonkers and balmy, really, looking back on it, but I just feel it rejuvenated the point and click kind of adventure game genre, and I think I'm hoping it will be influential. I'm really hoping they get a sequel of sorts, and perhaps, as I say, expand on some of the things which I think it fell a little bit flat on for me. So next up, Rich, fave bit of gaming news in 2019.
So for me, it doesn't come as a great surprise that the favourite gaming news for me in 2019 was the Breath of the Wild 2 announcement.
Nice.
My favourite game of all time is Breath of the Wild. All hopes were pinned that we would see another Zelda or Breath of the Wild on the Switch, just because I love it so much. Even just more of the same would do me. So when that was announced that it was in the works, that came as a bit of a surprise, to be honest. I wasn't expecting that, and I was just really happy with it, and was loving that we got a little clip, sort of teaser trailer about it, and obviously that sort of takes us into next year, where hopefully we'll see a lot more from this game. So yeah, that was something I thought was amazing this year.
We were on our friend's stag do, weren't we, on the canal boat, Rich, when we found out?
Yes, we were, yeah. And it was like, what? Yeah, it was
we all kind of shared in that. No, fantastic. I absolutely agree with that one. But I had to go for this. It's more of a games industry thing, not necessarily specific game, although it is involved. Essentially, Bungie went independent again. They broke up from the shackles of Activision. I think it was January this year. As you may know, Bungie were behind the Halo series originally, but have since made Destiny and Destiny 2. Both games that I've got mixed feelings about, but certainly, you know, Activision for me were really kind of distorting their output, you know, in terms of the game, in terms of their kind of ethics as a company, those roots as more of an independent developer. And, you know, to hear that they'd broken free of those shackles and they can now, you know, already I think we're seeing Destiny 2 has been taken in a much better direction. And I hope that continues, because there was the the roots of a really good game in Destiny, but unfortunately it got monetized. It was really almost obsessed with trapping gamers in this loop, which is part and parcel of those sorts of games. But I think it did it in such a way that didn't always feel particularly satisfying as an experience. So I was really chuffed to hear about that news. Not a big fan of Activision, EA, companies like that. So always good to have a victory for the moral good in the gaming industry. So yeah, that's that for me. Rich, what we've got next?
So best graphics of 2019. Go on, Tabs. I'm fairly certain we've both selected the same one on this. Yeah. So I've selected Death Stranding. I don't know about you, Tabs.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Got to be, isn't it? Can't be anything else.
Stunning game world. Very, very few flaws in the graphics for me, especially when viewed on a Pro, which Tabs has got. For me, just absolutely stunning game. And amazing what Kojima Productions managed to do with what is quite an outdated engine. Obviously, it's been updated.
Yeah, the Decima engine, years old at this point, and he's obviously modified it, but yeah, it's just the combination of the motion capture, the animation work, the fidelity of the textures, the geometry on show across the entire world. It just comes together in a confluence of spectacular brilliance. I can't, it's stunning, isn't it? You're literally awestruck at times whilst playing the game. So, it's really is a great reproduction of some of that natural beauty that you see.
I think it's amazing that it gives you that wow moment that you get when you're out in the countryside or you're up high and you get this vista across the landscape. I think it's impressive that it gives you that same feeling when you do get up high or get to some amazing scenes in it. So that's really cool.
And a lot of shots have been fired that it's a simulator of many things, Death Stranding. But one of them is, it's a nature simulator, isn't it? And it does that really well. So
absolutely.
Yeah, kudos there.
So next up, we've got best story of 2019. And I think we're going to continue with a theme here potentially, but I've selected Death Stranding here.
Yeah, me too, mate. I had my problems with the delivery of the story, but the story, for its bones, were brilliant. I really enjoyed them. And
actually, I think if you read all the information and you really see the game through, actually it sort of ties a lot of loose ends up. It creates a fairly cohesive story, even though it's absolutely bonkers. It does well to tie all the loose ends up, I think.
Yeah, and a shameless plug time, Rich. We're going to be releasing a video shortly, aren't we? Which is our kind of roundup and wrap up of the Death Stranding story.
Absolutely.
Bit of obviously a spoiler cast, but that's one of the things with the game. There is a lot of noise, isn't there? There's so much going on that you can, not necessarily have the entire picture in your head at any one time. So hopefully we'll just kind of, we'll look for that yellow brick road through the game and try and give you our version of the story, how we interpreted it anyway. So look forward to that.
So next up, Tabs, what we got?
So best tech of 2019.
So go on, you tell us what yours is first.
Well, it's a story of two parts, but ray tracing I've gone for. More looking at the glass half full, because I think it has a lot of potential. If you've not seen things like ray tracing in Minecraft, that's just worth a Google for a quick catch up on exactly what it is. But it's a new type of technology that's been introduced to gaming now that we have the kind of GPU power to allow it. And it just, it really does give that extra sense of realism to games, because, essentially lighting isn't baked into it anymore. It's actually being reflected in real time, which, gives a lot more dynamism to environments. I would say that's probably one of the biggest things for me. And I'm just excited to see where it goes. We now know that the next gen consoles have hardware solutions, baked in to enable ray tracing in next gen. So I think next year especially, we're going to see some stunning games utilize the the technology.
I think ray tracing feels like the next generation of graphics, in terms of, it's like the next DirectX, engine. It's like that next step. It just feels very much in its infancy this year.
Yeah, it's ahead of its time. There's not
Yeah.
been a lot of uptake. I mean, we were just discussing before, weren't we, Rich, that consoles really are the benchmark when it comes to, to graphical technology. And we've had the RTX GPUs this year released from Nvidia, but until consoles really, take them on board, you don't really see them targeted by games developers because it's not where all the money is.
Absolutely.
So I'm just excited. I think it is the future of gaming, at least
Absolutely.
In the immediate future. But what about you, Rich?
So, very personal one actually, this one for me. My favourite, or my best piece of tech this year is my Alienware laptop. Bought in sort of May this year, and it's just an absolute powerhouse. I can take it anywhere I go. It boots to Windows in like 5 seconds. I can throw almost anything at it, and it just doesn't miss a beat. It's the most powerful, probably the most powerful PC that I've ever come across. Not just a laptop. I'm sure there are more powerful PCs out there. I've played games on it in full detail, full settings, and it's just every time I use it, I'm struck by how fantastic a piece of kit it is, and it's really helped with things this year, editing videos, just everything to do with the channel. So that's definitely my best piece of tech in 2019.
And do you want to get the jab in you've thrown at me, Rich? Does yours boots probably 0.25 seconds faster than mine?
Yeah, like marginally faster. And to be fair, there was a single boot up. I think if we did multiple boot ups, it might just even out being pretty much exactly the same. But it's interesting given the fact that they're almost identical, aren't they, in every way?
I think yours might be optimised slightly better than mine, but
Potentially, maybe. But
yeah, anyway, they're a fantastic
amazing.
piece of kit, and we hope to take one of ours to E3 next year, don't we?
Yeah.
To accompany us.
Whether it comes back broken or not, that's another question.
Oh, we might want to check the insurance
in the
on
hold.
That one. Yeah, I mean, another story is it's going to take up half of our luggage capacity.
Yeah, they're not light, but there's a reason for that. They're absolutely rammed full of hardware, but there we go. Moving on.
Right, so most disappointing moment, a gaming moment in 2019. Do you want me to kick off with this one, Rich?
Go on then, mate. I've gone a little controversial.
I think mine's fairly standard. I've gone for the Blitzchung controversy. So essentially, I think he's an Overwatch streamer, was he? This Blitzchung chap, and he decided to use that platform to stand behind the Hong Kong protests, essentially, which wasn't met very supportively by is it Blizzard? It's Blizzard, isn't it? So essentially, yeah, it was really real shame because it was a chance for a company to really, get behind a gamer, and essentially that's what keeps them in business, gamers, and stand behind them in a way that was supportive against, what you could say, an evil in the world. Just from a moral standpoint, I felt it was a real opportunity for Blizzard, and seemingly because of commercial interests, they decided to, punish the player, go so far as to punish the player for, expressing political views and showing his, affinity to the cause. So I just thought that was a shame. Blizzard tried to say sorry in a way, but without actually doing anything particularly meaningful. So yeah, I mean, that builds on a number of disappointments this year. One of the others I toyed with was Bethesda, and how, they've just seemed to have been sliding down the spiraling out of control in terms of their leadership as a company, their example in the games industry. And yeah, I suppose it's those aspects of gaming which always disappoint me. So that's mine anyway. Rich, any comments on that yourself?
No, I've gone I've gone very personal again rather than more globally. But yeah, I mean, it was a shame, wasn't it? So my most disappointing moment of 2019 was watching Tabs play a massively underwhelming Shenmue 3. I personally didn't think the graphics looked great, the character models didn't look amazing, the way you moved around in the environment and the way it like locked you into the environment that Tabs was in at the time felt like it was very against like the open world nature they tried to portray for the game. And yeah, I felt like it was massively disappointing.
I've not actually returned to it yet. Not
that tells me all I need to know.
There's just been too many games to play. I will get there, but yeah, no, I hear what you're saying. It doesn't audition very well. We can certainly say that much.
Yeah.
It's very much a retro experience.
Which is not a bad thing. I've recently played another game which is quite retro and loved that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it being retro, but it felt very old rather than retro. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I think they had significant limitations as well, didn't they, as part of the development? So I don't know. Maybe the game transforms, though. You never know.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll try and play it soon. Right. So next up, most underrated game of 2019.
So my most underrated game of 2019 is a fairly well-rated game, to be fair, and that's The Tourist. I think it currently sits at 80 on Metacritic, but I love this game so much that I think this should easily be in the 90s. It's a short game, don't get me wrong, but it is an absolute blast, and I honestly should tell you, people who've got Switches should definitely go out there and play The Tourist because it is brilliant. It has for me, a feel of Breath of the Wild on a much more reduced scale, and the like temple-y, puzzly things that you go into feel like shrines. And although it's a fairly high-rated game, I feel like it deserved to be even higher rated.
Well, I'm gonna take the credit for this, Rich, because it was my Christmas present to you.
It was, yeah, it was. And actually, to be fair, with everything I've got going on, I don't know whether I'd have even bought it, to be fair, if you hadn't bought it. So, kudos for you on that one, and thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. No, I can't wait to get stuck into it myself. I don't know why, a game as good as it sounds has not been advertised better. I remember seeing the original video for it, and then it just seemed to like shadow drop without anybody realising. So, strange one that. Hopefully Nintendo can support them a bit more, and we'll see a sequel. So yeah, for me, underrated game 2019, Astral Chain.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure it did okay. I'm not entirely certain of that, but I hope it did well. But I just think because of the type of game it was, and because it was a new IP, it perhaps didn't have the splash that it deserved. And although I've reviewed it on the channel and I pointed out some pacing issues, it was just so original. And so the combat was addictive and empowering. There's a lot of character in the game, a lot of quirkiness and weirdness. But I just feel, I don't think it's got the, it's had the critical reception that it perhaps deserved. And I really hope that they are given another, roll of the dice by Nintendo and take it open world. That would be the best thing for me, really. Give them some money, give them a budget to really make it something special, because there's so much potential there.
Nice.
Next piece, we've got most useless piece of gaming tech in 2019. So I don't know if we've got the same one on this one, Rich, but...
I don't know, actually. I'm guessing maybe not.
Okay.
So I've gone, Tabs mentioned ray tracing earlier on as his best tech of 2019. Well, I actually think that has been the most useless piece of tech this year.
Gosh.
Because it's absolutely amazing, but it's like so underutilized this year. It's been redundant. Like there's like 3 games or something that on the PC that use ray tracing. It's not able to be used at all at the moment on consoles, and we're a year away from seeing it being used on consoles. and there's so little use of it. It seems like, why did they release this like a year before it's going to be needed? Like, it's amazing, don't get me wrong, but like, it's so unnecessary right now because nothing can use it.
Well, I think that the first kind of killer app we had to demonstrate it was Control, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that came quite late on in the year, so yeah, it's certainly, you know, not been properly received by the games industry yet. But no, I appreciate that. I think that's fair to say. It's not useless, just pointless at this point in time.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
yeah.
It's an amazing piece of tech. It's just this year had no relevance because nothing can use it, or very little can use it anyway. And actually, if you see you mentioned the utilization of it in Minecraft, it looks amazing. The water effects in that from ray tracing look incredible.
No, that's fine. I can,
what about you?
Take that one on the chin. I've got Stadia. Google Stadia. So yeah, a bit harsh. You know, I know we should be willing to progress and move with the times, but I just thought, you know, what a botched launch that was, and ultimately product as well. You know, I just think if they were gonna, they've almost kind of soft launched it, like beta tested it on early adopters, and you know, they're charging people for the privilege. The kind of the fanfare up to the release, you know, the whole E3 video and everything, they just shouldn't have done it that way. They should have just, if they were going to shadow drop it out there like half a product that's still finding its feet, do it a bit more, you know, in a subdued fashion. Instead, they built it up, you know, tried to sell us something that they just couldn't deliver on, and in so many ways. You know, the technology and infrastructure just isn't really there right now. Not for a universally, you know, experience that has parity for different people in different walks of life.
I guess this is similar to ray tracing. Like, this will be the future of gaming, but the way that they've implemented this piece of tech this year has made it basically useless. It doesn't work for everybody in all circumstances, and there doesn't seem to be any logic about when it does work. There's no like, oh well, I've got fast internet, it works for me. Well, some people have got super fast internet and it didn't work for them. So there's like no logic to what's happening on it. So that makes it useless.
Yeah, I mean, they would have been better going that direction, almost like Sony have with the PS5, where they've been releasing these little tiny bits of information without any particular fanfare. They would have been better releasing like that, and you know, having it free to play initially whilst they work out the bugs, standardize the service if you like. And instead it feels like they've tried to sell us, you know, something that it's not. So
yeah,
it just feels a bit underhand and uncool, and yeah, that's my useless piece of gaming tech. So last but not least, Rich, what have we got?
So moving from useless tech to looking more forward into next year, we've got one to watch out for in 2020. So this is what we think will be an amazing piece of gaming, tech, whatever it is next year. So Tabs, what have you gone for?
Well, I'll give you the main one, but then I had to mention something else just because of how special it is to the channel, really. Okay. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2077.
Interestingly,
Probably
I've
obvious.
also chosen this.
Oh, have you?
I actually think it's likely this will be, if they don't screw this up, and I think this has been long enough in development, well, because we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen games that have looked like they're going to be incredible and then they've been flawed in some way. But if that doesn't happen, I think this is Game of the Year next year.
Yeah, I think it's got the highest ceiling, hasn't it, in terms of its potential. I mean, even things like The Last of Us Part 2, they look amazing, and I'm sure it will be a really good game. But for some reason, Cyberpunk 2077, for me, it's just promising so much in terms of pushing forward the open world game, but in this kind of dense urban cityscape where there's, you know, choices to be made that affect different ways the story goes. You've got that RPG element of really carving out your own unique character. I just think it's.
I was actually looking at a few videos of this in the last few days, and I actually think it has a little bit of a BioShock look to it, the original BioShock. and I don't mean graphically, I just mean the way there are so many ways to like take down an enemy. Like you might hack them, or you might get some sort of modification, or you might sneak past them. It has that sort of element to
those emergent gameplay mechanics.
Yeah. I feel like it has that, and there's a little bit of like there was an underground. I don't know whether it was a car park or an underground base or something, and it actually had a little look of Bioshock about it. So I think that is only going to be a good thing. So yeah, I'm excited for this game. Unfortunately, it's a first-person shooter, so you know I'll be watching it from afar.
Yeah, I mean it looks like an epic, doesn't it? And I think if they can deliver on that and create a cohesive story as well, you know, and it's not just a game that's great in moments but overall is disappointing. As long as they bring it all together, and like you say, I think they've got the budget, they've got the time to do that, they've got the skill set with CD Projekt Red, who are a brilliant developer, or at least have been on past experience. So yeah, greatly looking forward to that. The mention I wanted to give to though was Breath of the Wild 2. I couldn't not say, you know, I'm just excited for that. I don't think it's going to have the impact of Breath of the Wild, but you know, more of the same and I'll be happy as Larry.
Exactly, absolutely. The only thing I will say to that, there's no guarantee we'll see this game next year. So we're likely to see something about this game.
I'm probably being a bit presumptive there.
I mean, I think there's a good chance, because I think that's their shot towards like stemming the flow of PS5 and Xbox Series X or Xbox or whatever it's going to be called. I think that's going to be their shot. So I think there's a good chance that we may see it next year, but there's no guarantees.
I think for me they need to try, don't they? They need to throw everything at it to get it out, even if it's just a demo next year, or another video, another teaser. We need to see something from it to keep people engaged with, you know, with Nintendo and the Switch. So
absolutely,
spot on. So should we bring this one to an end, Rich?
Let's do it, mate.
So yeah, thank you everybody for watching. From Rich and I, we're going to be dropping this after New Year's now. Unfortunately, we couldn't quite squeeze it through the pipeline in time. So we hope you had a fantastic New Year's celebration, and we wish everybody on the channel you know, a very happy and prosperous 2020. So if you did like the video, please do drop us a like to help to support and grow the channel. We'd love to hear from you in the comments as always. If you like what you see from Rich and I, subscribe if you haven't already and ring that bell for notifications. And I think that's probably about it. Another one for the archives.
Stamped and completed.